back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where I have with me professional wrestler Kennedi Copeland, who has just recently wrestled for Limitless Wrestling The Road that just premiered about 20 minutes ago. Sort of wrestled. There was a cameo. Let's call it a cameo that just dropped 20 minutes ago, even though it cut out surprisingly, and the internet went down. So the internet hates us accordingly.
We just keep killing it.
And obviously, so welcome to the show is where we're gonna start because I already messed up. So welcome to the show.
Oh, stop! You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of just tipped off my hat a little bit by saying and talking about Limitless Wrestling. The Road, obviously, is the first season did really well on IWTV. Was pretty much happy with it, and with everything that's going on with COVID and beyond not really happening, The Road is kind of filling in that spotlight. And that tips off my question because I think that's the best place to start with you in 2020 because you sort of, I think, really have been discovered and more front and center due to The Road and it being watched. And so how did you get involved with The Road and Limitless Wrestling and all that stuff? Because it's really put, in my opinion, a spotlight on you.
Oh God, no pressure. So I actually, Randy, who runs Limitless, saw something in me back in like 2017, and I was actually on one of Limitless's live shows. Remember those? When there's people and stuff. And he saw something in me, and he took a chance on me, and I don't think I was ready. I don't think I realized just like the caliber of talent that is on the shows. And I was just like, oh my God, like it was kind of like imposter syndrome. I was like, I don't belong here with these people. And shortly after I did end up actually taking a break from wrestling. And when I came back from it, I mean, they were still, they welcomed me back with open arms. So that's, I'm forever grateful for that. And I'd been doing like their dojo tapings, which then, turned into like Pandemic at the Dojo, which then turned into this. So that's my road to the road.
So to even talk a little bit about that, because obviously you've wrestled a lot of women in wrestling. Prior to all this, you've had matches with Tara Calloway, matches with a lot of other women as well. And I could probably not even name all of them because you've been doing stuff. You've wrestled for the Dynasty, and I think you really honed your skills tremendously.
Trying.
Gamma Cross is another one and a good name drop for you also to throw down there that you've wrestled with. And so what was this like when Limitless spotted you and even gave you an opportunity? Because I think it was like a 6-way or it was a 3-on-3 match. I think Delmy was involved in that. And
it was Ashley. It was
Ashley Vox. I get the two of them confused. I'm sure that Delmy and Ashley might shoot me, and Layla Hurst might kill me too. I'm sure they could all kick my ass. So I'm going to quietly go into the corner now. But yeah, even having said all that, what was it even like just to be in that first match? I think Skylar also was in that match and a few other people. Yep. So what was that first match with Limitless like when back in the day when there was something called people at wrestling events?
What are those? So I had actually worked with several of the girls that were in that match, so I was familiar with them and everything. And I mean, I had a good time with it. I think each of them really, they showed what they can do, and they showed not only like their wrestling skills, but like their personality and whatnot too. So, and I don't think I was, I was still finding myself, I think. So, I look back and I use that as a lesson,
And then we're going to fast forward to 2020 because this is what I really want to talk about because so much is going on right now in 2020. Yeah. And so obviously all this stuff, COVID hit pretty much end of March is really when I say it hit full swing. Because one of the last shows on IWTV was Bizarro Lucho. And that show out in the Midwest. And then everything sort of stopped right before WrestleMania week. Yeah. And then it took a long time It took a long time because I think Limitless started coming back either middle July, end of August. I think a lot of those pandemic at the dojo shows started occurring, and then obviously the road sort of hit, and then you guys took, I think,
And here we are.
3 week break or 4 week break for between seasons 1 and seasons 2. So I'm just really curious, what has the vibe been like with season 1 and even season 2? Because it's weird not having fans there, but also having wrestlers sort of as fans or as
Yeah.
spectators, but everybody's in a mask, everybody's socially distanced.
Hmm.
And so what is that entire vibe like in the locker room, and also adding some cinematics into it and wrestling in front of more of a Twitter audience to some degree versus a real person audience, and also wrestling in front of your fellow wrestlers?
Yeah, I think that actually kind of that almost raises the stakes in a way because you're wrestling in front of like your peers. Um, but at the same time, it's not like it's not anything new because like I said, I'd been doing their dojo tapings even before the pandemic hit. So already we were, with those you're just wrestling in front of each other and whatnot. I think the general vibe overall was everyone was just it's like that meme where it's like I'm just happy to be here. I think everyone was just happy to be here or be there. Everyone was, more than willing to do what they had to or what they were supposed to. We actually, before we could even enter the building, we got stopped. We had our temperatures checked. We had to have our masks and everything. We had to be socially distant. We sanitized the ring in between every match and whatnot. So I mean, it was, it was we had to do what we had to do, um, and it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's just you wear a piece of fabric on your face. Come on.
Yeah, and even to go further, what is it like though to even be in the ring and wrestle and have that even ability? Because obviously we see shows getting canceled. I don't know if you're
Hmm.
familiar with Black Label Pro just canceled or postponed
Yes,
Slam,
I just saw that.
and that was on
It's
Twitter, and that's a big deal. I know it was St. Louis Anarchy. I had Matt Jackson on, and he's had to rewrite their entire thing where they adapted and then readapted and then readapted again. Now all that stuff is off the table for the rest of the year, and
yeah.
so a lot of frustration in that regard. And so
Hmm.
even just having the ability to wrestle and then be in the ring, and also just even, I guess, not even developing ring rust to some degree is a big.
Yeah.
So what is that like for you to be back in the ring and also have sort of that cinematic feel to it? Because it definitely feels that way as a fan watching.
Yeah. Um. I can't speak for everybody, but personally, I find that um, I actually do better when I have breaks. Um, so I'm trying to look at 2020 as I'm just trying to look on the bright side. So when everything started getting canceled, I was actually kind of starting to get a little burnt out around that time. So when everything was getting canceled, I was like, all right, here's my chance to just, regroup. And I mean, it's obviously not the same, but thankfully I'm still able to do jujitsu. We also have protocols in place there. You're only really allowed to have like one partner, and it's like it's one of my best friends that I've known for years. And we explained to our instructor because at first it was just like, here's a dummy. You're gonna be like drilling things with a dummy. But he did say, if you're like close friends with anybody that also does jujitsu, or like you've been spending quarantine. So my best friend and I are like luckily able to still train like normal. We'll learn the techniques and whatnot, and then we're able to roll. So for me, that kind of actually helped me keep up with like obviously it's different than wrestling, but it's been able to
There,
kind of help with the cardio. I still get
yeah,
very winded in
I
wrestling and
think I
whatnot.
think people forget that wrestling and cardio are
Oh
pretty much
my
best friends.
god.
They're best friends. It's like time and money, in which that cardio and wrestling are super important. And
Yes.
if you see anybody in the ring and they haven't been wrestling for a while. You know, if you're running around.
Oh my God, you can like hear me huffing and puffing. And it, again, I'm trying to look on the bright side. I try to see it as a blessing in disguise in that I no longer like, I used to worry about like, oh, you know, what moves are next and whatnot, and because I have a terrible memory. And now it's just I remember the moves, but it's like, am I gonna be able to physically like pull it off? Because I'm like dying out there. So yeah.
And you mentioned something very interesting, and Roman Reigns has said this, and I like sports,
Oh,
and
what is happening here?
I don't know what just happened either.
Oh, I just got a phone call. What's happening? Okay, there you go. I get so many
so,
spam calls. This is BS.
so Roman Reigns said something where he, a while back, I don't know if he still believes this, but he said that, you know, in every other sport there's an off season and there's time off.
Yeah.
And in wrestling, there is no time off. At least in WWE, AEW, if you're a top talent, you know, and then you look at John Cena from like 2004 to 2008, the guy was working almost 280 days a year, which is insane.
Yeah.
And
I can't even fathom that.
he was making good money, and he was making a lot of money. And but you know, I would imagine that it takes a toll on your body. And there are people on the indies who work almost as much as that right now, or before COVID they were, and they're killing it. And they were killing it, and they're still doing okay. But what do you feel about all that, and even taking breaks? Because it does seem that, you know, I need breaks between doing podcast stuff and things like that. And obviously, I'm going to be hitting. This is my 80th interview this year, just on this show alone, and I need breaks because it's exhausting. And so, how do you feel that wrestling and taking breaks and almost mandatory breaks or even personal breaks, because it is demanding on your body, and it's also mentally tiring, especially on the indies when you're traveling. And I don't know how far you go outside of the New England area, but if you're obviously traveling to the Midwest and then coming back to Maine and then hitting up Boston, you know, it does take a toll if you're driving or flying or however you're getting there, for lack of a better.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually from upstate New York, so to Maine, it's like 6 hours. So yeah, it's a bit of a long haul. I I've I used to, so when I started training, my trainer, and I use that term lightly, he would always say like, if you truly wanted this, you know, you would do whatever it takes, you know. And so I looked at that and I was like, okay, like I have to just like I have to give it my all. And I'm slowly learning that you can't, you know, you can't do that if there's nothing left of you. So I'm just like a huge proponent of mental health and whatnot. So I'm constantly like, it's okay to take breaks. You know, it doesn't mean you want it any less or anything. So it has taken me a while to get there, and to really come to terms with that, because you know, it's hard. It's, you know, I oftentimes compare myself to other people and I look at what they're doing, and I'm like, man, like I could have that, but then I also have to realize that, you know, the grass isn't always greener. Like I don't realize what they're going through to get there. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're giving up. You know, so I just have to keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a saying. I'm a big fan of Hell's Kitchen. And there was a great episode where a chef quit mid-season, and he said, this stress is too much to becoming an executive chef at a restaurant. There has to be a less stressful way. And maybe it'll take a little bit longer, but sometimes, you know, things aren't worth it to go through such intense pressure and stress and kill yourself for something that'll ultimately destroy you.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, my main goal is just to have fun with this. And if I'm not having fun, then why am I doing it?
And even to go further off of that, in 2020, I think exposed something in the wrestling world, and it's slightly controversial, but we've witnessed a mental health issue in wrestling this year across the board on a lot of people. We've experienced a behavioral problem in wrestling this year, and it was always there. I think, in my opinion, I
Mhm.
think what started happening is that when COVID hit and finances started to go down, well, it's one crack in a dam, and then other things start fissuring out.
Right.
It's
The
just
straw
those,
that breaks the camel's back.
and so it's just one thing broke, and then the next thing broke, and then the next thing broke. So what do you think about what's happened in wrestling and mental health and wrestlers sort of now starting to pay attention to that? Because I think it's going to be an issue going forward in a lot of ways, and in dealing with things. And obviously, a lot of companies have started to take precautions and have started to recognize things and also change their policies and what's up with all that.
Mhm. Um, ooh, that's a that's a good question. I mean, I hate that it has to be an issue, you know what I mean, in the first place. But I know a lot of companies and even like you know, a lot of performers I've noticed since it has happened, um, if there's a move that I don't know how else to put it, but if there's a move that's like a bit intimate, um, like, hey, I have to like grab you here. Is that okay? Like more people are asking, like, are you okay? Is that okay? And it sucks that, whatever happened and that's how we got here, but at least, we're here.
Yeah, and I think that statistically, and I think in the last 5 years, wrestling has moved more into more of an equal fights, equal rights position. I really do think that. I think it needs some more progressing on a lot of levels. I
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement. At least that's what my therapist says.
and also I think part of the problem right now is that the two main big players, which is AEW and WWE, are
Mhm.
not having intergender matches like the indies are having. At least Impact Wrestling, which I don't know if they're a third, or where they're at, or they're obviously one of the underdogs, and not to throw them under a bus, they're doing it, but obviously they're not at the top of the mountain. And I think that that's a big issue right now, and I think that's something that's really affecting wrestling in a lot of ways, because it's kind of like when the indies do it, and all these fans love it in many ways, intergender wrestling, and I don't think anybody says, oh, it's a man versus a woman. It's just two wrestlers going at it.
Mhm. That's how it should be looked at.
Yeah, and then I agree. So to get out of controversy, because, and I want to talk about Limitless Wrestling and everything that's going on with that, because obviously pandemic at the dojo and all those dojo shows happened, and obviously you and Alexander Lee teamed up for one of your first matches, and I love Alexander Lee. I think the
Mhm.
guy is crazy good. I think he's crazy as a human being. I think what he did to you know, Jager and him. It's just those 5 matches, or those 4.5 matches were
Oh, they were tough to watch.
they were
Let me tell you.
crazy, disturbing, beyond the word disturbing. And but you teamed up and you faced Even Stevens, which is kind of cool in that
That was fun.
realm, because it's two guys named Steven, in case anybody didn't know. And obviously it's a play.
And they're brothers. How does that work out?
And it's obviously based on the show from Disney. It's a clear thing. So
Solid
that
reference. I'll give
so
him that.
so what was that entire thing like? And really being your first match, being in the dojo, having that experience. Because what exactly is the dojo versus the road? Because I think that's something that people might only know what the road is. Because I think that's been more
Mhm.
prevalent than some of those dojo shows.
So the dojo tapings, they kind of started off as a way to, um, I think, just kind of get your name out there. You know what I mean, and just show them what you got. And then obviously with the pandemic and everything, we kind of had to shake things up a bit. So they took that concept, and just kind of blew it up. So that's, um, I think that's where um, where that came from, really.
And what is it like to wrestle with Alexander Lee? Because I mean, the guy obviously has talent bleeding from him, and,
Hmm.
and it's not even so much even the wrestling. I think he's a great wrestler, but I think he's a better storyteller than anything else. And I think
Yeah,
the way he sells the story and the way he sells it and the way he cuts a promo and the way he makes you believe. Because when you're
yeah,
watching it and he goes outside and he's sort of like speaking what feels like to the moon, it's like you feel invested in what he's doing and you feel invested in and you believe and you're like, oh my God, like this is not now wrestling anymore. This is personal.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
there's something about that because I think that's an aspect of wrestling that's truly forgotten, that we're telling a story in a matter of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 60 minutes sometimes, or over 4 or 5 matches.
Yeah, and he's still able to keep it fresh. I mean, with the best of five series, every match was you were hooked. You were on the edge of your seat. I definitely think he's very underrated. He's very invested in his craft. And honestly, I don't think I'd be where I am now without him. There's been times where he just shows me a simple, oh, you can do, this, and it just adds so much more to the match. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Like, you don't have to do a lot in order to make it big. And I think he's very good at that. And yeah, he's a stellar performer.
And even to continue talking about people who are really good and what you can pick up from, I mean, we got to talk about Alec Price. Because I think Alec Price is another one who is
Yes.
massively underrated. Alec Price is just a natural heel drawer. The guy can draw so much heat. He's not liked in many ways. He's not liked as far as outside of the ring in many ways. But
Yeah,
going even further, but then obviously that's his character and that's what he's supposed to do. So what is that like to wrestle him and have that and also just see how he performs and how he does his job and all that stuff?
do not underestimate him. Do not. He's one to watch. Um, he's got such a bright future ahead of him. He really does.
And also because why not talk about Nick Stapp also? Because I love Stapp. What Nick Stapp is doing right now with MV Young is the
Oh
funniest thing
my
to watch.
word.
Like they run through a wedding, they're running on the
Oh my
beach.
God, I saw that and I literally
Oh,
laughed
it
out
was
loud. I'm like, is
so.
this real?
I love MV Young. I think MV
Oh
Young is like
man.
the funniest individual, and I think he's so gifted, and I love what he does. And like I could just imagine them trying to figure out what to do, and they've like run through so many things now, and like you just see like a 30-second clip, everybody on YouTube or like on Twitter. It's not even 30 seconds; it's like 15 seconds, and you're like, you see the wedding, and you see it, and I'm saying to myself, was this rehearsed? Was this them
No,
doing
that's what
it?
I was like, did they know? Like,
Like
oh my
and,
God.
and what makes it all worse is that like the people that they ran through their wedding, they look like they're having like the most elegant, simple, beautiful, like dream wedding on the
Oh my
planet.
God.
I'm dying with laughter because my sister got married 2 years ago, and I was sitting in the audience watching, and I was like, how crazy would it be if like somebody just took out a steel chair and just started like swinging it?
Wedding crasher.
And like when I saw that, this the first thing I looked at. I'm just like, what is that like? And also, Nick Stapp is just such a funny performer. How he does things, it is so crazy. It's baby girl Nick Stapp. Like, yeah.
When I found out I was scheduled to face him, I was like, I was speechless. I still am. I've been a huge fan of his work for a while, and I remember like one of the first few times I saw him was, it was actually like Warp Tour, and he was still doing his CPA thing, and there's this guy, he's in his button up and his tie and everything, and it's hot as balls out, and I was like, yo, props to him, but you could tell just how much fun he was having. I think he was actually facing, I want to say Orange. It had to have been Orange Cassidy. And just like looking back, I'm like, that's wild that happened. But it was just it was so fun. And like, to me, that's what wrestling should be.
And to even go further with this, because this I think was your first time on the road, and I think this was
Yeah.
your first time on the road And so, what was even going through your like mind and everything that you're feeling? Because obviously, you were pumped up for it, you were excited for it, but obviously, the road, and I think the first few episodes by nature were very much an experiment for Limitless Wrestling. And I don't know if anybody knew how that was going to play out with everything that was
Yeah.
going on. And so, at the same time, also, I don't think they knew exactly how people were going to react on Twitter and all that stuff. And it was sort of a cool thing. So, what was that like for you, being in that spotlight, and obviously IWTV and premiering, and it being, really hyped up by IWTV? Because it definitely, the road replaced Beyond and what's going on with Beyond. That, not to discount Beyond, but Beyond is not operating at the moment, and they're figuring out their stuff with uncharted territory for season 3. And
Mm.
the road is sort of a substitution for Beyond, to just to call it what it is.
Well, I don't know if it's a substitution
It, it's
so
a,
much as it's just another option.
it's
You
a
know what I mean?
substitution right now, not to replace Beyond, but because Beyond can't do their shows. The road is almost like Beyond would run in this spot, and the road would then run after Uncharted Territory finished up in many ways. But since the Uncharted Territory is not on right now, people are flocking to the road, if that makes any sense. So maybe
Yeah.
substitution is not the answer, the word, but I digress.
I mean, I look at it as I mean, personally to me, I feel that when the concept of the road came out, like I don't really think there was any, how's this gonna go? I
Yeah.
I feel that like anything that Limitless touches is gold. Um so I mean, I don't really see it as, oh, this is not airing, so people are gonna, watch this instead. I think, they've kind of already um set themselves apart as it is, and they already have their fan base and whatnot. So I I don't know if it was just me, but I was like, oh, this is an awesome concept. So again,
But
I can't speak for others, but
I love the concept of the road, and obviously something that I really liked about it is that obviously Anthony Green is onto greener passages, as Danger
oh
Kid
my
says.
gosh, more spam calls.
So
And
as
the
I was
spam.
saying, Anthony Green is onto greener passages, and I love the way the road opens up. I think that is the best thing. I think Danger Kid saying it is even better. I think he's the
Yeah.
perfect person to say that. And
I
and
think he's a staple of Limitless, so it only makes sense.
and so the thing, and obviously everybody knows where Anthony Green is going. It's no secret he's in WWE. I don't think, and if you watch on Friday nights, he's doing a lot of cruiserweight stuff right now, which is really cool. It's fun to see him do that stuff. He's under a different name, but that's a different discussion for a different day, which I think is a mistake because I think Anthony Green is the best name for him, but that's not the point here. But a lot of what the Road's original concept was is that, well, indie wrestlers travel the road. And everybody has a road to becoming a wrestler and going on that road and getting a championship. And Anthony Green with the road in many ways it was his last several matches before he was going down to Florida,
Mhm.
which was sort of the one of the main sort of outside stories surrounding the road in many ways, where this was
Yeah.
his last bunch of indie shows.
Yeah.
And but it was more than just that, because obviously this is the making of a bunch of wrestlers on who are coming up, including yourself, where you're going down the road to becoming a better professional wrestler and getting those skill sets. And
Mhm.
so obviously Nick Stapp and everything that Nick Stapp did, and you beat Nick Stapp, that's sort of a step that's a feather in your cap in many ways. So what is that like in your road to go into their name right there?
uh, it wasn't easy. But I I think the fact that Anthony Green was so dedicated to Limitless and the road, right up until he departed for NXT and 205 Live. I think that's kind of a testament to Limitless's product, that just shows you like the quality. So for me to be there, it's a lot of pressure, yeah. Um, but it makes me want to be good. It makes me, bring out the best of what I have. Um, so yeah, I mean that's what the road is for me, is just
And,
being a better me.
and also, and even to speak about the road, and I think this is super important, and even season one, I think Anthony Green's name really brings a lot of credibility to Limitless Wrestling, and he's been a
Oh, for
stable
sure.
there. I think AC Romero also brings a lot of credibility. I think Delmy Exo and Ashley Vox bring a lot of credibility. Um, Davienne and I think Christian Casanova
Casanova.
in
Yep.
season two are bringing a huge amount of credibility
Yeah,
to
I was
that promotion.
stoked that we got Casanova for season 2.
And I'm going to throw Love Doug in there because I think Love Doug has stepped up tremendously in
Mhm.
season two so far and towards the end of season one. And I think that that's something that's super interesting about Limitless, where there is a lot of people coming in. I mean, we got Logan Black in there, and we're going to talk about Logan
Yes.
Black. And I've seen Logan Black wrestle in Jersey. I've seen Logan Black wrestle
Yeah.
in Primetime Wrestling before that entire issue down in DC. And I think he's another person that's very much underrated.
Oh, very much so.
Kings of Chaos and Chaos and in general, which is Logan Black, and then what he's done. So, and I think you said a little bit, but what is it like that Limitless brings in some of the best talent, I think, on the East Coast? I really think they bring in a lot of amazing talent. They give a lot of their wrestlers talent, but they also bring in a lot of new people and people
Yeah.
that I've never heard of, but they bring people that I've heard of and that I've seen for years now wrestle at the same time, and it's a nice mixture. And I think you've wrestled both in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a testament to their product. I mean, everybody wants to be there. And it's really cool to see them give them these opportunities. So it's kind of, it goes both ways, I think.
And talking about a cool opportunity, and I really enjoyed this match, and I enjoyed it for the reasons outside of the ring more than the reasons inside the ring, and that was with Dave Dyer.
Oh yeah,
I thought
that.
I thought that match was the most fan interactive match in a non-fanless situation.
We
If there
did
was
what we could.
if there was ever an award for the most fan interactive match in a non-fanless environment, I'm going to try to catch everybody up on what happened if they haven't seen it. I think this was episode 9 of The Road too. And so what happened is that basically they were
Research.
calling Dave Dyer. I think they were calling him like a little puppy or like a little dog, and
They
like
called him a Shih Tzu, which is just, to me, he doesn't deserve that. I have a Shih Tzu, so
so.
well, that.
So it was really funny because you now have a situation where you're calling a wrestler something that and Dave Dyer is a big guy. He's a big guy. In case that's why this is
Stop it.
hilarious. And so it was very enjoyable. And then Twitter was going crazy about it too. And I don't know if you've looked at Twitter and seen what was going on after or during when it was premiering, but it was becoming very funny on Twitter because everybody was repeating
Aw.
it and everybody's like doing memes. And it was one of those moments where if there was a fan audience and it would have been even bigger. And I don't even know if it would have been bigger. I think it might have even been less, but it was so perfect. So what is that like in both with a live crowd and even in this fanless zone with your wrestlers around you to create that atmosphere? Because this is one of the first times I've seen it in this new environment of wrestling where we have very much a fan atmosphere out there, something
Hmm.
like this. And I think it's super cool. I think that's what wrestling's about in many ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times where I'm watching matches and like I'm a part of the audience and whatnot, and I get like so invested in them, and I think that's what it all comes down to, is just like we're all fans, why else are we doing it? So I try not to, you know I try not to look at it any differently, um, whether they're, paying customers or they're my peers. There is a little bit more, to me, there's a little bit more pressure because they're my peers, because they know what they're looking at and whatnot, and they know when I screw up and whatnot. But when I can, if I can get them invested, that feels pretty good. Not gonna lie.
Because I was speaking with Delmy, and I've spoken to a lot of other wrestlers, and one of the things during this entire COVID, because this thing started in March for me, and I did a lot of interviews with wrestlers, and one of the things that's been a challenge for a lot of them, and I'm curious how you feel, is that a lot of people breed off of the crowd, whether you're a heel or whether you're not. I mean, we look at Baron Corbin in WWE. The guy plays so well off of a crowd.
Yeah.
And he's really good at it, and I would imagine that his job as a wrestler has become a lot more difficult when there's no audience to play off of. And I know that there's wrestlers who are like babyface heels and ultra and get huge pops from a crowd, and it plays so well to their character that when there's no crowd, it's like, what do you do? And so that's something that I think is very interesting. And so that's why I really like this match, because I think in many ways it fed into you, it fed into your character. And nothing against Dave. I think Dave is an amazing wrestler, and I like what he does, and it's wonderful and that stuff, and he's great from what I've seen. But at the same time, I felt like it was that like push and that like pushing over and that ego driving factor that really made this match from being, better than good to becoming great. And telling a story that actually meant something, because now we have the crowd teasing a wrestler, teasing the heel in the match, putting you over in many ways, and then you get the win. And then that win is almost sweeter, and then it almost feels like a David versus Goliath situation.
Yeah. Huh. That's definitely an interesting perspective, and I have to agree with it. I mean,
yeah, so that's how I viewed the match. That's why I like this match, and it was the first time in a no crowd zone and no crowd match that I saw that. Oh, this is cool. And this is one of those things where I think Limitless does a great job with all their stuff, but I felt like this was like super invested. I felt like there was capital in the match, and I really enjoyed that. And I really think that entire show, just in general, I thought there was a lot more capital in the match. I think Love Doug does it really well as well. I really think he does it.
Yeah. And I think that's more on like Doug and Dave, that's just how good they are at their characters. So I think that speaks volumes on their behalf.
And then this is sort of the last one I want to talk about. And then we're going to talk about it. And we might dive into some chaos afterwards, but got to talk about Mac Daniels. I think Mac Daniels is
do we have to?
So he is a special individual. He's quite physique, and he's something else. And I really liked seeing him in Limitless. I think it was really cool to see him. I think he's a bit of a jerk. Is a polite word to use. Is
one way to put it.
I don't know if he might be listening in somewhere in the world. So. I was
gonna say. I mean, he's probably heard his name and his spidey senses are tingling.
Well, that I'm sure that if I know if somebody suplexes me in the middle of the night, I'm pretty sure it'll be him. But that's not the point.
Sorry.
So what was that like? Because. So obviously, I like this match. I thought this match was fun, and because I think this was your first loss in the series, and that match was.
Is it though? Is it?
It doesn't have to be. We could just lie. It doesn't have to be. We could lie.
Not a lie. You cheated.
Yeah. So. But I think the more important part is that something is coming out of this match, and that's why I said chaos. And clearly, you're not happy, and we're starting to see something happen. And maybe you're going to embrace the dark side a little bit. Maybe you're going to go.
I have. What are you talking about?
MCR a little bit, maybe. I'm not okay.
No. I've always been like that. I'm not giving Mac Daniels the credit. Psh. Please.
I think you're going inside to solve the problem. You're going deep into to what's inside your soul to
Yes.
solve
Yeah,
the
that's what my
problem.
therapist told me to do. I gotta look within.
Sometimes people like to look out of their window to see the solution. I think you're looking inside. So, what is this transformation that's about to occur?
I mean,
And how can Logan Black help you to achieve that?
I don't know how much I don't want to like spoiler anything.
Well, you're facing Logan Black next week. And obviously Logan Black is the king of chaos. And he's got like the apostles of chaos.
Yeah.
What can we see with the for lack of a better word, is the emo going to be coming out?
As if it hasn't already. God, that makes me feel like I got to step my game up. But no, that's kind of exactly what I feel Logan Black is going to do. Is he's going to get me to step up. He's going to push me to my limits. I guess no pun intended. Because even though I don't know if I can curse on this thing.
Oh, go right the fuck ahead. I don't give a shit.
Oh, I can. Okay, cool. Yeah, no. Even though I look up to him. I respect him. I'm fucking intimidated by him. And I feel like this is something that I have to do, you know?
So let me give you an analogy. Is Logan Black gonna be your blank and you're gonna become Apricot with Still Life in Paris? That's a great analogy.
That was. I mean,
is that where we're going?
That would be like an honor. You know what I mean?
Because for those who don't know the analogy, blank created Apricot and Still Life in Paris.
Oh my god, that is such a solid rep.
It's such a independent wrestling statement. What I just said. It's like the quote of the night.
I mean, I hope that's. I've been waiting for this to be announced. I've been waiting to talk about this and whatnot. It's something that, and I'm trying not to give too much away, but it's something that I'm pretty proud of. I mean, I was scared shitless going into it, but I did it. I can't even say I escaped relatively unscathed because I didn't. But again, I don't want to give away too much. So
that's happening next week. And obviously, I mean, I think I can give this away. So, a little bit. So, obviously, everybody knows that Limitless Wrestling the Road is essentially pre-taped. It's all that stuff. It's not live, as such as like a ICW No Holds Bar is. And it's a premiere versus a live wrestling thing. So that's happening next week, and that's done, and we're just waiting to see what happens with it. Mm-hmm. I'm trying not to give too much away because I don't even know what happens.
I'm in the same boat.
I don't know what happens, but obviously, and one of the things is that people who know Logan Black, and Logan Black's been around forever, and Logan Black is one of those people that I think is underrated, underestimated. People don't know how skillful Logan Black is in general. And so, obviously, I love seeing Logan Black, and I actually have to get him on. And I've been avoiding it since March. It's not purposeful. If he's listening or if he sees this, it's not purposeful. It's what happens is that I get busy. People get busy. It's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing personal. But that's something that's really cool, and I'm actually really glad because I think this is his second match on the road, which is very exciting to see Logan Black up there, and especially after a lot of stuff that's happened in the DC region. It's nice to see Logan Black actually be back in a ring, and so I'm very excited for this match, and I'm very stoked for it.
I was very excited to hear that they were coming up, and I'm really not trying to like blow smoke up his ass or anything, but I genuinely would watch his oh my god, what was it, like the flavor of ice cream videos, how he'd show how he'd prefer to do things and whatnot. And he actually asked me to be like, I'm in a couple of those videos and whatnot. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. Like, how am I going to be the one to like demonstrate it and whatnot? But no, it was a huge honor to be asked to do that, and it was an honor and a privilege just to be in the ring with him.
He's really good, and I really enjoyed him in Capital Wrestling, which might be a dirty word now, but I believe that we are all adults in the room, and we can separate bad promotions from their talent.
Right.
I like to believe that everybody's an adult in the room, and that everybody's capable of doing that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But for me, I'm able to separate really talented people from bad promotions.
Yeah. For sure.
I hope that a lot of wrestling fans are as well. But I digress on that, and I don't want to spoil anything else with Limitless. Obviously, I think this was show 4 that just took place about an hour ago, that cut off in the middle of it. And we have another, I think they go 11 or 12 episodes a season.
It's hard to say, because I mean, when they're filming them, it's so much wrestling, and it's amazing. Like, it's not you've seen one match, you've seen it all sort of thing. It's like, oh my God, I don't care how tired I am, like, I can't wait for the next one and everything. So they have a crap ton of matches and whatnot. So I can definitely see them like spreading out the episodes over an extended period of time.
And I have a feeling, and I know you can't talk too much about it, but I got a feeling after this match, we're going to see some more of you in the next few months. I hope so. Somewhere we're going to see you.
I'm speaking it out into the universe.
We're going to be talking
about... And that was also kind of my goal with this, was to sort of prove that, like, yeah, I belong here. And nobody can take that away from me.
And even to talk a little bit further about that, because something about IWTV that's really interesting is IWTV in many ways is a growing company as a whole. And I think what's super cool about IWTV is that, and I'm the first person to say this, before this year I never heard of Limitless Wrestling before.
Really? Wow.
I never heard of Limitless Wrestling.
Welcome.
I never heard of Beyond last year.
Really?
And I came in about a year and a half ago into IWTV, and then I started watching a bunch of stuff, and I was into independent wrestling, but very little. And I was into stuff like MCW in Maryland, and things like that, which is a cool promotion and all that stuff, and I like those people, and I like that promotion in general, but very little indie wrestling. I was just looking, and I came across saying, hey, where can I watch a bunch of indie wrestling? And I was looking for like 1 or 2 shows, and then I discovered Beyond, and then I discovered St. Louis Anarchy, and then what starts happening is you start going backwards with certain stuff. And so you start looking at stuff from a year ago, and then you look at stuff here, and then you start looking at stuff forward again. And so I think a lot of people in 2018, 2019, and now have become more familiar with Limitless Wrestling, and I think people have come in for Beyond or St. Louis Anarchy, or for something like Primetime, Butch vs. Gore, all the faults with Primetime Wrestling and everything that happened with them and their sort of implosion and explosion. Unfortunately, and I don't want to get too politics and pointing fingers, but I think Butch vs. Gore was trending on Twitter at one point when that show was happening. I think that was a big boom for IWTV, and I think that brought in a lot of fans in wrestling. And brought a lot of attention. So, and I think because of IWTV has all of that, it's put more of a spotlight on every single promotion.
Yeah.
And I think, and also I think people are looking for alternatives off of WWE and AEW.
Yeah.
And indie wrestling in many ways is that. So how do you feel that you're even spotlighted and that you have matches and that there is, promotions, and I see your cat or dogs in the background right there.
Hang on. Peter, say hello.
and so what does that feel like, that there is a lot more attention? And as I stated before, I think you become discovered in many ways because of this, and that people now know your name. Because I guarantee you that a year and a half ago, half the people that now know your name didn't know your name. I'm willing to put money on that.
And I know how you are with bets and whatnot. I mean, I personally don't feel as though I'm quite. Can I help you, Peter? Um, I personally don't feel as though I'm quite like there yet. Um, I mean, IWTV like retweeted something like I don't know, it was like a GIF that that featured me, and I was like, oh my god, like I made it. But I do agree with you in that like
There's
a
a lot
lot of
more
people
attention.
are.
There's a lot more attention now on
Yeah,
wrestling. I
and
mean, look at the
I,
PWI 500. I would say 2/3, not 2/3, but at least a third of it is indie wrestlers.
yeah,
That's never happened
yeah.
before. That's
There's a
never happened
lot,
before. And
and I mean, I actually did a podcast a couple weeks ago, and it was essentially the same story. He was like, I hadn't heard of Limitless before, and this guy's from like the South, so it's crazy to see the reach, and it's all because of IWTV.
so yeah, no, I agree. And then also continuing talking about IWTV, we got to talk about Pizza Party Wrestling. And how do you feel about some clout? There's a whole fuckload of clout. My dad went out once for some clout, never came back.
What? Oh no. Oh man. That's that is too good. I mean, hey, it's worth it.
Never came back. Whole
So,
went out for some clout, never came back.
oh my
So
god, I wasn't prepared for that. I was not emotionally ready for that.
I don't even know how to describe this entire tournament and this entire situation and this entire company is just like it was like a throwback to like the 1990s, and like there was no rules, like this entire thing was so beautiful.
Yeah, what's not to get?
It was Chris Levin describes, so Chris Levin was on my podcast, and he describes Camp Leapfrog in a certain way, where it's the type of thing where you could roll up a joint and just chill out and do it. And then there goes my government job right there, but that's not the point. But that's what this was like, where you could just like roll up a joint, maybe pour yourself some whiskey, and just
Oh my god.
back and relax and watch, and you don't even have to think about it, and it's just like out there, and like you were part of this, and it was like the most like this is just like, you know what? In 2020, in the middle of COVID, this makes complete sense. Like,
yeah, no, it totally, like, I honestly did not know what I was getting myself into, and I was like, did I do the 90s right? Like, I don't know. And it was just like, no, you did everything perfect. And I was like, well, I just, went out there and had fun. Yeah, no, that's what you're supposed to do.
it's really an amazing thing, and it's so bizarre, and it's like, what, it really works. And I don't know if 2020 was a normal year that this would have come about. I don't know if it could have come about. I don't know if it should have come about. But given 2020 and given the situation and everything that's going on, I really think this entire thing is just perfect if you buy into it a little bit.
I mean, I discovered Pizza Party last year, before all this craziness went down, and I thought, I mean, I'm just one person, but I thought it worked. So
I really enjoy it, and as I stated, you have to buy a little bit into it. But if you sit down and then you just roll a little joint, and then you take a few hits, it's gonna be perfectly fine.
I'm lame. I don't do any of that stuff. So
I don't do it either.
Yeah, whatever you say. Oh, okay.
I don't do it either. But if you're sipping a beer, or you have two beers and you're watching it and chilling out and enjoying it, it makes complete sense in a lot of ways, and it's really. I don't do any
of that either, and it still makes sense.
It's like Camp Leapfrog, where it makes sense, where it's just you have to just sit down and just watch it. In which that it's almost like its own contained world in many ways. That like you enter a bubble and then you're now in a different world. Like that's the experience how I describe it, and that's not every wrestling show.
To escape,
And so I really enjoyed it. I like the fact that your opponent was Y2 Johnny CO. I thought that was funny. I think the entire thing was amazing.
Do you know how hard it was to keep a straight face? Oh my god.
And then there's all you were fighting.
I couldn't let my guard down.
And it was great because what were you fighting for? A whole box of clout, like a bag of clout. Like that's what he was. I don't even know what clout is.
No, we didn't even. You know what? We didn't even get to. That's the worst part.
It's like Robotech. It's exactly like Robotech. Nobody knows what proto-culture is, but they're still wanting it. That's exactly what it's like, and that's an '80s reference.
You know, I don't even need it. It's fine.
and I
it would
think
be nice to have, but whatever.
And I think you're gonna be back at pizza party sooner rather than later, right?
Yep. Honestly, tonight, I was like, there's so much going down because my match for with Logan got announced, and then one of my matches for pizza party got announced tonight as well, and then I had this, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm so overwhelmed.
So is that Logan 1%?
What's that?
Logan who?
Oh, Logan Black.
Yeah. So that's going down, and then
so yeah, that got announced.
And then you got a match with Matt Murkowski, and Matt Murkowski is a scary motherfucker. He's a scary, gifted, terrifying. Please don't hurt me. I will salt the earth and follow you to the end of the earth, sir.
So when I first found out that I was facing him, I was a range of emotions. At first I was like, all right, who came up with this? And then I was like, is this some sort of joke? Like, is this for real? But no, he's somebody else that I really look up to. When I actually looked up some of his stuff to kind of, study him and whatnot, like one of the first things that came up was his Bellator fight. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I was like, what the? And then I told, my best friend who I do jiu-jitsu with, he's a huge MMA fan, and I sent him the link. I was like, yo, this is the dude I'm taking on. He's like, oh shit. So that was an experience.
Yeah, Matt Murkowski is amazing. I mean, his stuff and beyond was great.
Yeah, yep. I studied that as well, and I was like, I'm gonna die.
I mean, his fight with Chris Dickinson, pretty much right before the Collective and before Bloodsport, was insane.
Yeah, like he's doing all this stuff, and I'm like, little old me is taking him on. Like what?
But what's crazy is that as he's doing that and he's doing all that intense stuff, he just did Camp Leapfrog. And his Camp Leapfrog
and it works.
Was perfect. And it shows how gifted and how talented.
And how versatile, yeah.
I mean, they for those who haven't seen the Camp Leapfrog, I'm going to ruin it. They egged Matt. It was Travis Huckabee and Matt Murkowski was trying to egg two people, and then they both sort of ducked. And I forgot who they were saved by, but they egged each other. It was a Halloween show. And it's perfect. And it was so perfect on so many ways. But it's this idea that Matt Murkowski is so technical. He is so technical. And he's amazing. He does so much. And then his stuff in Jakar, which is another dirty word for those who are looking out there.
Well, I mean, I think you have to give credit where credit is due. So again, it's not associating the talent with the actions.
His stuff in that pit and like the underground fight stuff was unbelievable. Where he's taking somebody out in like 20 seconds or less. Mm-hmm. I mean, to do that and even to shoot that and to even talk about this, and this is why I was stoked for this match, and I can't wait for this match because this match is going to be exciting.
It's crazy how good he is because, from what I gather, he's still relatively new to all of this.
Well, that's because he's in his third life, but that's a different discussion.
Oh my word!
So even to even talk about this stuff, because obviously that Logan Black stuff, and we spoke about it a little bit, but this Matt Murkowski match, it seems to me, and I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, is that clearly people see something in you, and people see something and talent in you, and you're rising up, and obviously people like you. I want to speak to you, and if you're going through some of the names who've been on my show.
I needed to hear that.
well, sometimes people need to hear things, and sometimes people need to hear compliments.
Yeah.
Even if they're not true. I could be lying, but
I'm going to pretend you're not.
I'm not lying, clearly. but
How do I know you're not lying now?
That's
I don't
true.
know what to believe.
That is true. I'll plead the fifth. But anyhow, but even still, what is this like that people are booking these matches? And I think there's a few more matches that are coming out that you know about that I don't know if you can talk about. But what is that like that? Oh, we're now feeding you really good talent, and that we're feeding you talent that is going to produce amazing matches and make you an even better wrestler. Because there's no way you're coming out of that Logan Black match not being better. There's no way you're coming out of that Matt Murkowski match not being better. Maybe you'll earn some clout in that match. I don't know. But
my long-awaited clout.
A whole bag of it.
A whole bag. What do I even do with all of it? Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, really. You know what I mean? I'm being given these opportunities, and I'm hoping that I've proved that I earned them. And I guess I can't really find that out until they air, so we'll see.
Well, I'll give you a piece of advice that somebody gave to me, is that you got the match already. Now you just need to perform well to keep getting those matches and get the next one. So you don't need to impress. It's the same thing when I get an interview.
Low battery. Oh God.
So,
We're back.
So when you already have it, now you just need to get the fans invested. So you already got half the battle accomplished.
Yeah.
And so
now's the real hard part.
I think the hard part is getting the match. It's much like getting an interview for me is the hard part. And I think this is something that people, and I hope people watch this and get this far in this interview. I really do, because I think this is
I hope I didn't bore them.
I think this is something that is super important, that getting an interview or getting a match is the hard part, and then keeping people invested. And I think somebody said to me, and it's Chuck Pino, so I'm going to shoot him this message and direct him at, an hour in. He'll appreciate it. I'm positive. But what he said to me is that he wanted that he wants to be on my show because I bring the energy into the room, and I think that's what you do in the ring, and that's how you get it. Is that once you're in the ring, you bring the energy and the storyline, and you bring the investment into the ring, and that's how you get it. And I think that's something that is very much true about what you do with that stuff and everything with your match.
Thank you.
That's why you're getting better and better, or you're getting more interesting opponents and more of you're climbing up that ladder, for lack of a better word here. And they're feeding you people to possibly eat.
Oh my God. What am I, Ryback? Yeah, that's the goal, really. I mean,
you might be being breeded for something, is my point.
What's that?
You might be being breeded for something without you knowing.
Hey, I mean,
I'd put money on that.
It is what it is,
I'd put money on that.
I try not to get my hopes up too much, because when they come crashing down, it hurts. And I just feel like, I have been given opportunities before, and I would blow them and whatnot. So that's probably why I'm, I don't want to say a little skeptical, but.
So I think that. So I think that I don't want to push any more further or harder on this point, because I don't want to make you start spilling things, because I could easily do it. Start cracking open some.
You probably could, yeah.
And I don't want to get you in trouble or me in trouble. More importantly, Limitless just sent me a Dylan Nix card, so I really have to behave about this one.
Hey, that's funny.
It's signed and everything, so they sent it to my parents' house though, so I don't have it yet.
You're gonna be like, give it back.
So yeah, they might make me give it back. They sent me something about an electric eel too, but that's a different discussion.
Huh.
I don't know if Dylan wrote that himself, but that's not the point. But anyhow, I do want to talk a little bit about COVID, because obviously COVID has changed the game in many ways. I come from more of the comic book world, and Comic-Cons are completely canceled and messed up beyond a wildest dream. We were just dropping and talking about Slamilton, which is BLP, one of their big shows, and that was just postponed. And so that's a big deal, and that's upsetting in a lot of ways, because that card looked awesome.
Right.
And I was stoked for it. And I enjoy Slamilton when I've seen it, and I thoroughly like it. So obviously shows are now getting postponed. we mentioned St. Louis Anarchy. I don't know if we mentioned it on air or off air, but obviously Matt Jackson, and I don't think he's going to mind because we spoke about this publicly, where they had a bunch of shows and then they had to rewrite a bunch of shows and they had to rewrite that stuff, and now they're having nothing in that regard, and it's completely messed up in a lot of
Right.
because COVID is now spiking up, and so obviously Limitless Wrestling has adjusted. So where do you see wrestling going in the next, 3-4 months? Because obviously ICW is heading down to Florida. Outdoor shows are not going to be much of an option when it's 20 degrees below.
Right.
I don't know how many men want to be shirtless in 20 degrees below. I mean, maybe some people like their fetish. Maybe that's their fetish. People, maybe. I don't know. But my point is that where do you think it's all going?
I honestly don't know. But what I like to think I know is that we're going to persevere no matter what. I personally I take things day to day. So I don't, I'm not looking 3-4 months into the future. And I mean, I know a lot of people hate, like, it is what it is, but that's also something else I've learned in therapy is radical acceptance. Like, you know what I mean? So I just try to.
There's another word for that. It's called ride the wave.
Yeah. Yep. And I think in the end, like, we're going to be okay,
So do you think, to push a little bit, do you think that there's going to be more things like Limitless Wrestling, what they're doing, where obviously there's a lot of testing and everybody's getting tested, and obviously,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Limitless Wrestling has said to everybody, hey, if you test positive for COVID at your CVS, don't fucking show up. Like,
Right.
more of a polite way, I'm assuming, but maybe not so polite. Like, and
I feel as though they don't even have to say that because the talent that they have, they know better. You know what I mean?
It's an unspoken
where,
rule.
there wasn't any pressure. They said, like, if you're not comfortable, like, we totally understand. There were some performers that I think they opted out of, like, the first season that are going to be on the second season. And, they said, like, hey, I have family that, are more susceptible to it and whatnot. And, like, Limitless didn't hold that against them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And do you also feel, though, that a lot of the saving grace, because I think IWTV has been very much a saving grace for a lot of companies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's making them do something different. Like, I know Northeast just came out with studio tapings as well. And if that's what we're going to have to do, then at least we have that.
And also, I think for the fans, because I'll explain. So there's a lot of shows going on, and I'm not too comfortable going to a show right now. And I've had the option of going to a Beyond show in Atlantic City. I've had the option to go to an ICW No Holds Bar show. I've had the option to go to a GCW show. And I'm like, no, thank you, because I don't really feel comfortable. But I don't have a problem dropping $13 or $14 for a GCW show or for watching Limitless, on television and engaging in that way. And I think IWTV in many ways has been a saving grace because it's been a lot of fans don't feel comfortable.
Right.
And so I think that it's very interesting in that regard. And so do you think that, that's also going to be more of the future in the next few months? Because it's not even so much, I mean, obviously COVID is still prevalent and I don't think we're going to have a vaccination for a while. But I think that in many ways, this also keeps fans involved and engaged, and they're tweeting at you. And also, do you feel that that's also changed wrestling to some degree? Because now Twitter is in many ways more important. TikTok's more important. Instagram is more important. Doing an interview like this is very important in many ways. Where 2 years ago, it wasn't.
Again, maybe I'm just trying to look on, like, the bright side of everything, but I think it almost, like, enhances it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, wrestling is very few and far between. So, you have Limitless being like, okay, we're going to do these tapings, and, you want to jump at that. And I got to hand it to, there's a lot of people that will they'll do several matches in one day, and I'm just kind of like, like I can barely do one. My God, like I can barely get through one. So I think it's like I said, it's enhancing it in a way, and it's really making them like go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also think that people are really appreciative that wrestling is back in some degree as well. And I think fans really love it. And I think fans are super excited because, and I think obviously performers like it too, and wrestlers like it because you guys want to wrestle and
Yeah.
get it. You want to perform, and I think it's a happy compromise
Yeah.
because right now, due to a lot of governance and a lot of other things and safety precautions, having fans in the building is not the answer. But I also think that having it on IWTV and engaging, and I engage with a bunch of people I don't even know on every like week, and it's crazy. And then people follow me that I think there's like 40 or 50 people between Beyond Limitless Wrestling St. Louis that follow me and I follow them, and we've never met in person, and we probably never would have met in person if it wasn't for all of this that's happening. And so I feel like
Right.
the wrestling community has exploded, especially on the
Yeah.
indies, more so than anything else. And I think that's also going to benefit a lot of wrestlers in many ways. And I don't know
Yeah.
how you feel about that. I don't know how your social media has been doing, but I think that that's something that COVID, I think, is going to be very helpful to.
Right. And I mean, I'm kind of like a hermit
Antisocial?
in real life.
You're antisocial?
So, like, I'll always have people tell me, pre-COVID and everything, like if I'm at a show, people are like, "Oh, you're gonna stand out there during intermission," and it's not that like I don't want to or don't like anybody, but like I'm actually very shy, which again is why when you were like, "Hey, you want to do this?" I'm like, "Oh God," but like I'm a hermit. I don't ever really go out and whatnot, so like to me, I don't want to say like I'm okay with all of this, but it's kind of been in my favor almost.
I'm the exact opposite. Like
Tell me your ways. How do you like get like that?
I'm like the exact opposite. I am so social and I
Oh
love doing
God,
everything in it.
jealous.
I would be like I would be at my merch table if I was a wrestler in other people's matches, and I would just like have a huge line and nobody would be watching their match, and that would be my entire gimmick. But I digress.
That's a good idea.
That's a great gimmick, and it's a great idea. And then that's like your entrance. So I have the entire thing. I'll pitch it to somebody, and then I'll ask for a royalty on it because it's clearly that's when I write for WWE. That's going to be my entire freaking thing for them. So we create that in the caddy as my thing. But those are two different discussions.
I'd like to see that come to fruition.
Oh, I already have his finisher. It's called the T shot.
Okay.
I have the entire thing. Obviously, he's gonna come out with a golfer. Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh, my
the entire
word.
thing. But anyhow, we've been talking for a while, and I do want to give you an opportunity to promote yourself because I know you have a Twitter. I know you have, I think, an Instagram, or maybe not an Instagram, but an Instagram. I'm willing to bet you don't have a TikTok. I'm willing to bet on that. If you do,
no.
I'm clearly wrong, but I don't think you do. And
I don't know how to do that stuff. I'm not very tech savvy, which is why like I was like, oh God, I haven't done Skype since like high school.
So, and I don't know what other social media you have. I don't know if you have merch and things like that, but feel free to promote yourself. Where can people find you online to go bother you?
So my Twitter, I actually have to hang on. I have it right in front of me because
it's weird. It's weird. It took me like 3 shows to find you on Twitter.
Well, that's because I've had like Twitters in the past, and then I would like delete them. When I would take my breaks, I'd like delete it, whatever. And then so like my username would always get taken. So my Twitter username is Kennedi Copeland, and everywhere that there should be an E is a 3. So of course that's super freaking complicated, and like nobody can find me on there. And then my Instagram is the Kennedi Copeland. I think. If you type in Kennedi Copeland, you'll find me eventually.
And
Oh
then
gosh, low battery. Oh Lord.
do you have merch?
I do have. Well, I did have some with Alexander Lee. It's on his pages and whatnot. So
Go bother
can find him
Alexander
on
Lee,
social
everybody.
media and what's that?
Everybody, go bother Alexander Lee. He needs a hug.
Yeah.
He needs
Yeah,
a
he
hug
does.
in the moonlight. You could go howl at the moon afterwards.
What's that?
You could go howl at the moon afterwards.
Howl at the moon. Uh,
And on that note, I will say this because we're about to wrap up. Definitely support indie wrestling. I mean, now more than ever in our time and all that stuff, you definitely have to support independent wrestling. You have to support independent wrestlers, promotions, and a lot of this stuff is free. You know, following somebody on Instagram, following somebody on Twitter. If you have, I think it's $100 for the year for IWTV. You will not be disappointed. If you go on Twitter, I'm sure Limitless has a 5-day promo code, so you could try before you buy. Use their code because
and you can look up their matches on YouTube. You know, they'll post many of them shortly after they air.
I also think that the road almost premieres on YouTube at the same time as well.
Yeah, they'll put some of the matches up there.
So I think stuff like that's up on that. So definitely check that out. And a lot of cool stuff is on Limitless YouTube's channel. So, and then again, you can try before you buy. You get 5 free days. I could tell you for a fact that in 20 minutes for those watching, the Masked Wrestler is on. And that's going to be awesome to see that. Okay. And we are still live, and I don't know what happened, and we are still live. But as I was saying, the Masked Wrestler is on, and that's going to be on live, as well as a bunch of stuff's happening on Saturday, Friday, and Saturday, and that's all good. So that's what's happening with all that stuff, and definitely check that out. And I think her phone died, so that happens. So that's all good. So I think that's pretty much what's out there with all that stuff, and so definitely check that out. And I think that's all good. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I got. And I don't know if she has anything left to say. With that, so I'm gonna give her a second, and hopefully she'll figure out how to rejoin. Because this is why I like doing stuff like this. I think this is super interesting. And yes, so yeah, so let's see if and I don't know if
Sorry about that.
yeah, and then you rejoined, and we're still live. So I was just going through all this stuff on basically what people can do and buy and figure out how to join IWTV. Going through pretty much their lineup. Masked Wrestler, as I was saying, is on at 10 o'clock tonight.
That's where we left off before tech. See, not only did the stream for Limitless cut out, but then I accidentally hung up somehow.
And I was also saying that if you use your 5-day promo code, it should take you to about Saturday, and ICW No Holds Bars happening. I think there's something going on Sunday. This week.
Pizza party.
So technically speaking, today is Wednesday, so that's day 1 if you do it. Then day 2 is Thursday. Day 3 is Friday. Day 4 is Saturday, and day 5 on your free promo is Sunday, and you can get Pizza Party. So you can legitimately get the Masked Wrestler. You could catch up on Limitless's The Road Season 2.
They'll replay the latest episodes and whatnot.
You can then also check out ICW Pit Fighter is going on. There's a 60-man Iron Man death match that's never been done in ICW history this weekend. So between John Wayne Murdoch and Orin Veidt, and my money's on Orin Veidt. So
good lord.
And he's the Wizard King from Black Clover. So I got to go with my boy, my anime boy here. And then the rejects are going to be in a fight, and I love Akira. So obviously, for those people who are out there and wanting a bunch of cool stuff, there is a huge amount of content in the next 5 days. It's technically, and then it's what I dub a wrestling weekend. And so, and then also, IWTV probably about 30,000 hours at this point of content in their backlog. So your 5 day promo is not going to be able to allow you to watch all of that. I'm letting everybody know ahead of time. So, but
I mean, if you can get all that in, I'd be impressed.
It's $10 a month, or I think if you buy in a year, they give you a bit of a discount because obviously it's great. I just bought mine last March for $100. I don't know if that's still in play. And I don't have any affiliate links or anything with them. I just think they're an amazing product, and I can't speak highly enough about it. And again,
Amazing platform.
I'm 5 day promo. I don't go on Limitless's Twitter or anybody's Twitter that's an indie company will have a promo code for you, but use Limitless's because it benefits them tremendously. Also lets IWTV know that you're watching Limitless or that you have an idea who they are, and helps them out a lot. So that's pretty much what I got to promote. Also, you can check out what I do. I'm on Twitter at PopAnimeComics. That's me. You tweeted about my Facebook message to you, which I thought was pretty funny. I was like, oh shit!
I didn't put 2 and 2 together, so I'm gonna have to follow you on Twitter.
and then I tweeted it out, and then you said, yeah, you were live and this, and you still didn't put it together. I'm like, oh, great! Like,
my God. As you can see here, I'm not very good at the whole like media or tech thing, so.
But even still, obviously, and then a bunch of people like Travis Huckabee liked it. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta fuck this up. No wonder why I'm so nervous when I do things. But
I think you did. I'm the one that messed up. I accidentally hung up.
It's all good, and we're still live, so it's all good. See, this is what I like about my technology is that this is the best thing is that Limitless cuts out, and they pretty much cut the last match out, pretty much.
Did they? Is that what happened?
For pretty much everybody. Where it was rough, and and this is like the second time it's happened.
Cliffhanger.
But and this was before their.
It's too hot for IWTV, I guess.
And this was before their big announcement, which I think is regarding their title, because Anthony Green has moved on to greener passages, which I love. I love that, but I figured I promoted enough stuff. Also, you can follow me at Pop Anime Comics. You can check me out on OnlyFans. I have an OnlyFans, and no, I'm not going to strip for anybody. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm like 25 pounds overweight, and so I'm not doing that. But you can learn how to invest in comic books on my OnlyFans, and so it's right now $5. It's going up to 10 in January. I have content for the next 3 weeks planned. And then from there, I'm going to be adding a lot more content. And I mean, I go intense. And some of those videos that I put up are anywhere from like an hour to like 2 hours sometimes talking about this stuff. So if you want to learn how to do this trade, knowing I'm not Watch Club that guy. I'm not that guy. So that's all I'm going to say. And so that's just to pay attention with that. And that's everything that I got. And I figured I would give you the final word.
Oh, God. Spay neuter your pets. I've been throwing that everywhere. So. Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. Time flies when you're having fun.
Well, I am stoked to have you on. I'm very excited, very, very nervous, and I'm glad that it went the way it went. And I am stoked to have you on, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I enjoy watching you wrestle. I enjoy certain aspects, and I'm looking forward to some chaos coming out next week.
I hope y'all like it. Hope I delivered.
And on that note, I think it's a wrap.
All right. Well, have a good